Hello guys, welcome back to Coding Cafe. So in the previous tutorial, as you know that we have successfully created the Google API key and we have connect our Android project to the Google Maps API. And you can see that this is the default location which is marked to Sydney. So now in this video tutorial, we are going to get the user current location. That is, let's say I am a user and let's say that is now I am in Palo Alto, California. So this app will automatically get my location and it will display the mark like that. But now you can see that this is the default location and we will now work and write code for getting the current location of a user, where a user, or let's say where he is traveling. So come back here to your Android Studio and we have this Google Maps activity.java file. So now here we can create three classes. So here you can see that we have this Google Maps activity which extend the fragment activity, which is basically our Google Maps activity which display the map, and then we have this which implements this OnMapReady callback. So what we're gonna do, we need to implement three more classes. So here we can simply say, let's move this to the next line, and now here we can simply put a comma here, and in the next line we can say Google API client, which is this one, the first one, dot connection callback, put a comma, Google API client dot on connection failed listener, put a comma, then we can say location listener. So now you can see that we get these errors. So here you can see this red bulb. So you can simply click here and it says implement methods. Click here and here we need to implement all these methods. So now click OK and you can see that the methods, which is the on location change, status change, provide enable, it is implemented successfully. Now we need to add a play services location dependency. So go to this Gradle scripts and we have this build.gradle module app. Click here and here you can see that we have this play services maps. So you can simply select this line of code, okay, Control C, and now paste that here, and now remove this maps and change this to location. So yeah, that's it. Now click on this sync now, and now go back to the Google Maps activity, and here you can see this import, expand this, and here you can see we have this import android.location listener. Remove this, and here we need to add. So here you can simply copy this import and paste that here, and we will change it for the location listener, com.google.android.gms, and remove this, and we can say location listener, which is this one. You can see that, okay. So make sure to do the same which I did here, okay. And now we need to delete this extra methods, which is on status change, on provider enable, and on provide disable, okay. You can see that we got error for these, so you can simply remove this, okay. This is extra one, we do not going to use these methods, so remove this on status change and all these three methods. So yeah, that's it, and you can see the error is gone successfully. So now here you can see that we have the Google API client.connection callback clause has a method which is this one, on connected method, and this method is called whenever the device is connected. And this other class, which is the Google API client.on connection fail listener, this method is called, which is the on connection fail method, is called whenever the connection is failed. So this method belongs to that class, which is the Google API client.on connection failed listener. And the location listener class is used whenever there is change in location, which is this method which is the onLocationChanged method. Okay, so this method is called whenever the location is changed. Since we are going to get the current location of a user, so what we're going to do, you can see this OnMapReady method, and here, as I told you in the previous tutorial, this is the default location. So remove this, okay, because we do not need to set the default location. So remove this, and now we will start work on getting the current location of a user. And this OnMapReady method is called whenever the map is ready to be used. So to get the current location of a user, we will, as you know, that we will use the markers and other listeners. So we will use these things inside this OnMapReady method here. Okay, so here inside this method we can say mmap dot set my location enabled, and it takes a boolean value which is true. And as you can see, it give us this error. So click on this red bulb and click on this add permissions check. So you can see that this if statement is implemented after when we click on this. So this is our if statement, and first of all, what we're going to do, we are going to remove these comments from inside here. And this if condition basically check the permissions. As you can see that the access file location and the permissions granted. Okay, so I mean this if statement basically checks the locations which I told you guys in the first video tutorial, and which I provide you in the description in the previous video tutorial. If I show you, then these permissions, okay, these 5 permissions which I told you in the previous video tutorial. So we are basically checking for the axis course location and axis file location. You can see that, okay, axis file location and axis course location. So yeah, so remove this return from here, and you can see this mmap.setMyLocationEnable. Control X, cut this from here and paste it inside this if statement. So now we need to create a method here. So here we can say protected synchronized void build Google API client. So now come here, we need to declare a variable here. So here we can say private Google API client, and let's call this as Google API client. Put a semicolon here. And now come back to the build Google API client method, and inside Google API client equals to new Google API client, and which is, let's type it, Google API client, which is this one, Google API client dot builder, and the context it needs is this, which is our Google Maps activity dot add connection callback this dot add connection failed listener this dot add API location services dot API dot build. Put a semicolon here. Now we need to connect the Google API client, so we can say Google API client dot connect. So we need to call this method build Google API client inside on this OnMapReady. So here we can say above this mmap.setMyLocationEnabled, here we can simply call that method build Google API client. So now to get the location of a moving object, that is a moving person, moving car, or any moving object, we need to update the location regularly for that. So for that we will use fused location provider API. So first of all we are going to use the location request. So let's declare the here. So here we can say private location request, and let's call this as location request. So go to the onConnected method, which is this one. So here we can say location request equals to new location request, put a semicolon, and now we will set the interval. So we can say location request dot set interval, and it needs value in milliseconds, so we can say 1100 milliseconds, the semicolon. Then we can say location request dot set fastest interval to 1100. Put a semicolon. Now we will set the priority. So we can say location request dot set priority, and here we can say location request dot the first one, which is priority balanced power accuracy, and put a semicolon here. And then we are going to use the fused location API, which I told you earlier. So here we can say location service dot fused location API, which is this one. And as I told you earlier, that is fused location API will get the current location of a user. Then we can say dot request location updates, and it needs 3 parameters. So the first one is the Google API client object which we created, which is this one, Google API client, put a comma. The second one is the location request, which is this one. The third one is the context, which is this, and make sure to put semicolon here. So you can see that we get this line of code shows us an error because it has to get the permission from the user, that is the location permission is granted or not. So for that, what we're gonna do here, we can say, so here we can say if contacts compact dot checked self, which is the first one, and it needs 2 parameter. The first one is the context, which is this, comma, and the second one is the permission. So we can say manifest dot permission dot access find location, because we are going to check if the permission is granted or not. And then we can say it will be equals to, if this is equals to package manager dot permission granted. So then inside this if statement, then we are going to process this line of code. So control X, cut this code and paste it inside this if statement, and you can see that the error is gone. And now we will work on the onLocation change method. So first we need to create an object here. So here we can say private location, and as you know that this is the onLocation change, so we can give it a proper name, like let's say last location. And now come back to the onLocation change method, and here we can say last location equals to location, and this location is basically the parameter which is passed to this method, which is the onLocation change method. You can see that. Okay, so first we have to check if there is already a marker which is set to some other place previously. So we have to remove that marker. So for that, let's create an object here. So let's call it as private marker, and we will call this as current user location marker, and this marker will show us the current location. So come back here to the onLocation change method, and here we can say if current user location marker is not equals to null, which means that it is set to some other location. So here we can say, so we need to remove that marker inside this if statement. So we can say current user location marker dot remove, and after that we can set it to new location. So for that we need the longitude and latitude. So we can say lat lang, which means latitude longitude, and let's call this as latitude longitude equals to new latitude longitude, and it needs 2 parameter, what is the latitude and the second one is the longitude. So we can say location dot get latitude comma location dot get longitude, put a semicolon here. So we need to display the marker on that new, or you can say the current position of a user, for which we will be needing a title to display the location name. So here we can say marker options, and let's call this as marker options equals to new marker options, put a semicolon, marker option dot position lat lang, put a semicolon, and now we need to set a title for a current location of a user. So we can say marker options dot title, and we can call it as user current location, put a semicolon. So we need to add a marker and the color for that marker, which will basically display the user current location. So we can say marker option dot icon bitmap descriptor factory, which is this one, dot default marker bitmap. Here inside this default marker we can say bitmap descriptor factory dot, and you can see that after dot we get these colors for the marker. So you can choose any color for the marker. So I will choose this hue green, but you can choose any color you want for your marker and put a semicolon here at the end. Now we have to set it on the current location. So here we can say current user location marker equals to mmap dot add marker and set it to marker options and put a semicolon here at the end. And now we need to move the camera to that location. So after this we can say, and let me tell you what that means, that is by the camera moving. As you notice, then we use when the app runs and the map appears on our mobile screen, then when we get the current location and when we click on that marker or when we zoom over the map, then the map moves. So this is basically the camera movement. Okay, so you can say, this is basically camera movement. So we can say mmap dot move camera update factor, which is this one, dot new latlang mmap dot animate camera update factory dot zoom by. So whenever it gets the user current location, then it is totally up to you guys. Whatever the value pass here, I will pass 14. So the camera will zoom by 14. And if you decrease this from the 14, then you will get the map in the maximize form, that is, you have to tap on screen to get closer to the location. And if you move 14 above this 14, that is 15, 16, then you will get the camera in minimize form, and there will be no need to tap on screen to zoom the map on your mobile screen. So you can check it with different numbers. This is totally up to you guys, whatever you want. Okay, so I will go with 14 or 12 will be good for now. So after setting the current location of a user, we need to stop the location updates. So for that we can say if Google API client not equals to null. Inside this if statement we can say location service dot fused location API dot remove location updates. So it needs two parameters. The first one is the Google API client and the second one is the context, which is this, and make sure to put a semicolon here. Now the next thing is here we can create a integer type variable. So here we can say private static final int, and let's call this as request underscore user underscore location underscore code equals to 99. And now we need to create two methods, so let's create that method here. So here we can say public boolean check user location permission. So inside this method we will check if the permission is granted or not. If context compat dot self permission this comma manifest dot permission dot access find location, and then it will not equals to package manager dot permission granted. And now inside this if statement, and this basically means that is if the permission is not granted, you can see that, okay, not equals to. So what we will do, then we should check first that if we ask the user for the permission. So for that we can say activity compat dot should show request permission rational this comma manifest dot permission dot access find location, and then inside this inner if statement we can say activity compat dot request permissions. So if this inner if returns true, then we need to request permission. So inside this request permission we can say this, which is the context, and the second parameter is here we can say new. It takes basically an array of permission, so we can say new string array, okay, this array, and we need to pass only one value, so we can put these braces, and here we can say inside this braces manifest dot permission dot access find location, and after this curly brace put a semicolon here, and here we need to pass the request code which we created here above, which is this one, request user location code. So copy this, and here we can simply paste that request user location code. And after this inner if statement, first copy this line of code which is inside the inner if statement, and then we can say else and paste that line of code here inside this else statement. And after this else statement we can say return false, and for the outer if we can say else, and inside this else statement we can return true. So here the check self permission method return the package manager dot permission granted. If it returns the permission granted, then the app proceeds the operations, and if the app does not have the permission, the method returns the permission denied, and the app will ask specifically for the user permission. This should show request permission rational means this method returns true if the ask is request permission previously and the user denied the request permission request. So it will return false if the user select the don't ask permission when previously asked for permission. So we need to create once more another last method which will get the request permission result, and that method will overwrite from our this Google Maps activity. So what we're gonna do, so here we can simply create that method. So here we can say, you can simply type on request permission, and you can see this public void on request permission result. So click on that and you can see that our this method is created successfully. And now inside this method, so first let me tell you that this method will handle the permission request response. So from here you can simply remove this super dot on request permission result. So we can create a switch, so you can say switch request code, which is basically this parameter request code. And inside this switch statement we can say the first case is case, and the case is our this integer type variable which is request user location code. So we can say request user location code colon. So in this case we're going to check if the permission is granted or not. So we can say if grant results dot length greater than 0 and grant result 0 is equals to package manager dot permission granted. That means permission is granted. So if the permission is granted, we can say if context compat dot check self permission, the first parameter is this comma manifest dot permission dot access find location is equals to package manager dot permission granted. And inside this if statement, then we are going to check one more thing, which is the Google API client. If this is equals to null, so if the Google API client is null, then we are going to call the build Google API client method, because this method is creating a new client, which is this method. Okay, so this method we call here, and this will create a new client if the Google API client is null. And then after this if statement, we can say a map.set my location enable to true. So as you know that this is for the permission granted, now we need to write a else statement, which is if the permission is not granted, which means if the permission is denied. So we are going to display a text message simple here, which is toast.make text. The context is this, comma, and then here if we can write a message, we can say permission denied, and then comma, and then after that we say toast.length short.show, and after this else statement we can say return. So now we need to use this check user location permission method. So for that, go to the onCreate method, and inside this onCreate method, after this set content view, here we can say if build dot, sorry, not this one, build build dot version dot sdk int sdk underscore int greater equals to build dot version underscore codes dot m. Then we are going to call that method finally, which is the check user location permission. And now scroll down here, and here we have this on connected method, and now here you can simply copy this if statement. Okay, just this line of code, copy this, Control C, and now come here above to the OnMapReady method, and from here remove this if. Okay, this line, remove this one, remove this, and paste that if statement here. You can see that. Okay, if context compat dot check self permission, and this one, you can see that, and remove this comment from here. And now let's run the app. So you can see that the app is running now successfully, and you can also see this get current location button, and here it gets our current location, and here we go. You can see that this is my current location. You can click on this get current location button also, so you can see that this is my current location where I live. So if I zoom in, then you can see that these are the places, and this is the place where I live. And you can click on this marker, and it says user current location. So in this tutorial we get the current location of a user. So now you will be able to get the current location of a user. So in this video you have learned how to get the user location, the current location of a user. So yeah, that's it for this video, and in the next video we will work on the nearby places where a user will be able to see nearby hospitals, hotels and restaurants, and school, colleges and universities. So yeah, that's it for this video, and if anyone is new to our channel, then please subscribe our channel, thumbs up for this video, and see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.